Hello, grandkids. It's Mema for Stories with Mema. I have a fun book that was lent to me by a friend, and it's a goofy book that is called The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales by John Scieszka and Lane Smith. And this book has a bunch of stories in it, and they're kind of goofy. They take old other tales and they make them goofy. So we're going to read a couple of them today. This one is kind of similar to the one that I read that Sarah, Dawson's mommy, wanted to hear, which was The Princess and the Pea. But this one's called The Princess and the Bowling Ball. Let's see what it says. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a prince, and this prince's dad and mom, the king and queen, somehow got it into their royal heads that no princess would be good enough for their boy unless she could feel a pea through 100 mattresses. So it should come as no surprise that the prince had a very hard time finding a princess. Every time he met a nice girl, his mom and dad would pile 100 mattresses on top of a pea and then invite her to sleep over. When the princess came down for breakfast, the queen would ask, "How did you sleep, dear?" And the princess would politely say, "Fine, thank you." And the king would show her to the door. Now, this went on for 3 years, and of course, nobody ever felt the pea under 100 mattresses. Then one day, the prince met the girl of his dreams. He decided he better do something about it. That night, before the princess went to bed, the prince slipped his bowling ball under the 100 mattresses. When the princess came down for breakfast the next morning, the queen asked, "How did you sleep, dear?" "This might sound odd," said the princess, "but I think you need another mattress. I felt like I was sleeping on a lump as big as a bowling ball." The king and queen were satisfied. The prince and princesses were married, and everyone lived happily, though maybe not completely honestly, ever after. The end. Isn't that silly? That's funny. He used a bowling ball. This one is called The Really Ugly Duckling. Now, many of you may not have heard the story about the ugly duckling, but the ugly duckling ended up being a swan in the end. So he wasn't ugly, he just wasn't a duckling. Let's see what happens in this story. Once upon a time, there was a mother duck and a father duck who had 7 baby ducklings. 6 of them were regular looking ducklings. The 7th was a really ugly duckling. Look at that. Everyone used to say, "What a nice looking bunch of ducklings," all except that one. "Boy, he's really ugly." The really ugly duckling heard these people, but he didn't care. He knew that one day he would probably grow up to be a swan and be bigger and look better than anything in the pond. Which that's how the original story goes. Well, as it turned out, he was just a really ugly duckling, and he grew up to be just a really ugly duck. The end. Isn't that goofy? That is such a funny story. Poor duck. Okay, let's see if we can find another one here. Oh, let's see. This one. There are bunches of one. There's the giant story, the fee, fi, fo, fum, Jack story. Oh, this one's really difficult because see, look at it starts off big and then it goes down to little letters. I don't think Mema can read that story. There's Cinder Rumpelstiltskin and the tortoise and the hare. Let's do the tortoise and the hare here. Once upon a time, there was a tortoise who was very slow, but very dependable. he would always get where he set out to go. It just took him longer than most people. One day, Rabbit saw Tortoise walking slowly but surely down the road and said, "Tortoise, you are so slow. I could probably grow hair faster than you could run." "Oh, yeah?" said Tortoise slowly. "Yeah," said Rabbit. So they decided to race. On the day of the big race, Tortoise and Rabbit lined up at the starting line. Owl said, "On your mark, get set, grow." Tortoise started to run. Rabbit started to grow his hair. Isn't that goofy? Tortoise ran, Rabbit grew his hair. 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 Tortoise is still running. Rabbit is still growing his hair. Not the end. Isn't that cute? All right, grandkids. I love you. A bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck. Read you later.